Happy Friday, everybody. We made it. So, today we're going to talk about the rest of Act 2 with Scene 4, where we talk to the Thane of Ross and an old man, and then Macduff enters the scene. So, if you click on my notes, there's a couple of things about the disruption of the natural order that are going on in this scene that are important to note. So, the old man and the Thane of Ross are talking about how there was their atmosphere is unnaturally dark. There was a mousing owl that killed a hawk, and that was ironic because you would never see a lesser bird, kill a stronger bird, and that is indicative of Macbeth murdering Duncan, right? Macbeth, in this sense, is the lesser bird, and Duncan being the hawk in this category. They also talk about how Duncan's horses have broken out of their stalls. They went wild, and at some point were even eating each other. And so there's there's something not right with all of this situation. Not even just naturally going on in the atmosphere with animals and stuff, but also there's something unnatural about a king being murdered. And so the kingship has passed onward, and Macduff enters the scene, and the Thane of Ross and him begin discussing whether or not they know if, who truly murdered King Duncan. And so they mention that the guards were the ones responsible, but Macduff says that they might have been secretly hired by Malcolm and Donalbain. And that's interesting because he even mentions they stole away after the deed, and they fled, which puts them under suspicion. And so the Thane of Ross casually mentions, but that still goes against nature. These guards had nothing to gain. And ultimately, he says that the sovereignty, right, the kingship, would now fall upon Macbeth. So Macbeth notes this. He also verifies this, says Macbeth has already gone to Scone, where the Scottish kings are traditionally crowned. And he says that, instead of going there, he's going to go back home. And he also mentions that he doesn't think things are going to get any better. And that's interesting because he's already not pledging support to the next person in line to assume the throne. And that could be for a number of reasons. This could be because number one, he suspects foul play, or that ultimately the situation is unnatural, and although Macbeth appears to be the next choice, it's not following the proper protocol, it's not following the proper channels, and he just has suspicions about this whole thing. So for today's attendance question on your reading response, you need to discuss who the new King of Scotland is and explain how he becomes king, even though there was officially another king or Tanis to be in line before him. Especially if you missed our Zoom meeting today, this question needs to be answered before 11:59, or else you will not earn your attendance credit. Then you're going to start on this Macbeth versus Lady Macbeth character comparison chart. This is going to help set you up nicely for your research projects, especially if you end up choosing Macbeth or Lady Macbeth. This will also help you with your citations parenthetically, but also to quote. So you have 4 different questions where you will juxtapose Macbeth and Lady Macbeth, and you're asked to complete only one sentence. It must be concise and precise to answer each of the questions on the left-hand side. You can quote anything from Acts 1 or 2, but you must quote the Shakespearean language, not the modern language. You will use the slash mark to designate where the lines end, and you can see it in the example provided in the instructions and also in the blue text within the chart itself. You do need to provide that parenthetical documentation as well. You'll see those models within the chart. You also have them in your research project instructions. It's one of the last few pages in that document. So as a guide, if we look at number 1, how would you describe Lady Macbeth? You can see that there is one concise sentence here. Lady Macbeth is Machiavellian. She is willing to do whatever it takes to gain more power. And my favorite quote of the entire play is where she says, "Look like the innocent flower, but be the serpent underneath." And that is in Act 1, Scene 5, and those are the specified lines. And you'll see that there's ellipses to show that the lines are not chronological, and you'll see the slash marks to indicate where the lines change. The other question to model for the Macbeth side is what is important to them? And we all know that Macbeth cares about what other people think about him. Everything he does is based on his legacy, his bravery, his honor, and that comes from people's opinions. He also cares about his opinion of his wife when she attacks him as, a coward and mocks him. That does make him change his mind. So my response here would be the opinions of others are important to Macbeth. And in scene 7, when he's contemplating and deciding, I shouldn't do this, I shouldn't murder Duncan, he says, he hath honored me of late, and I have brought golden opinions from all sorts of people, which could be worn now in their newest gloss, not cast aside so soon. And so that is from scene 7, lines 32 through 35. So these two examples here should show you how to respond concisely, how to quote appropriately within the Shakespearean text, and how to do an appropriate parenthetical citation. So this is all practice. This is not due until Monday, so I highly recommend that you try at least these first 2 boxes today in addition to your reading response, and then you can finish these 4 on Monday together with me on Zoom on Monday. And then we'll continue with our reading next week. All right, folks, I hope you have a wonderful Friday. Please reach out to me should you have any questions, make good choices, and have a great weekend. Take care.